This week on Emily Celtics Weekly, the Celtics are gunned down in Texas. But Sunday in Los Angeles was a special afternoon for both the Green and Magic Johnson. We'll take a look at two of the most important people in the Celtic lineup, team physician Dr. Arnold Scheller and trainer Ed Lasser. And the New England Sports Museum takes an innovative step, heading for the 21st century. All this and more next on Emily Celtics Weekly.
Emily Celtics Weekly, brought to you by Emily Motor Oil. Better than it has to be. And now, here's your host, Mike Gorman.
Hi, everybody. I'm Mike Gorman, and welcome to Emily Celtics Weekly. Well, the Celtics are in the midst of a 6-game road trip, which had them swing through the Lone Star State of Texas last week. Now, usually the Celtics do well down there, but not this time. Willie Anderson would prove too quick for the Celtics in the early going. He goes in for a stuff, and the game is tied at 10. And then it's Anderson finding David Robinson, who had 23 points and 15 rebounds. Spurs go up by 2. Eddie Pinckney, solid night, 10 points, 9 rebounds. Celtics led at that point 14-12 when Kevin McHale made his first appearance in 23 games. But then Robert Parrish got blocked at one end, and Terry Cummings and Willie Anderson would combine. Here comes Cummings for the layup on the other. The Spurs go up by 1, 16-15. Then again, it's Anderson showing his quickness for this driving layup. The Spurs suddenly lead by 5, 22-17. David Robinson too quick on the alley-oop there, and the Spurs start to roll. Again, some big defense on one end by San Antonio, showing you what they can do, and then some pretty good rebounding. Anderson, the slap pass, gets it ahead. Eventually, Antoine Carr with the stuff underneath. Rod Strickland, good dish to Terry Cummings. 13 points on the night for Cummings. And then again, Spurs running. Willie Anderson, another dunk. Seemed like he was dunking all night long. Joe Klein hits back-to-back jump shots as part of a 16-4 run by the Celtics in the third. But David Robinson with the dunk right there. And then David Robinson coming again. San Antonio was too much. Celtics tried to get a win in Dallas, but shots like that didn't really help the cause. And then the Mavericks get the fast break going. Eventually, Herb Williams, who had a big night with 23, gets the dunk, and the Mavs lead 8-7. Rodney McRae through the back door to tie the game at 15 later in that first quarter. Then Donald Hodge takes the ball away from Kevin McHale. Isolino, nice bounce pass there to Doug Smith, the rookie, and the Mavs go up by 4. Sherman Douglas behind the back to Rick Fox ties the game at 46 in the second. But then Herb Williams again with the block on Reggie Lewis. Derek Harper up to a running Randy White for a layup. The Mavs go up by 12 in the third. D. Brown stripped by Randy White on the drive. Rodney McRae to Derek Harper. Harper would have a good night. And the Celtics get themselves further behind, down 14. Isolino had 3 threes in the game. That made it a 16-point Maverick lead. Rick Fox, a strong power move for 2 of his 13, cuts it to 10. And Robert Parrish's little roll in the lane cut it down to 9. Reggie Lewis, a nice passing underneath there. Robert Parrish, though, got stuffed. A clean block by Herb Williams. Derek Harper, the layup, and the Mavs, the victory. On to Houston, and things didn't get any better. Vernon Maxwell, uncontested on the drive. The Rockets lead 6-0. They go on to a 10-0 lead. Down low, Otis Thorpe. Suddenly it's 16-1 Houston. Reggie Lewis with an offensive rebound off a Kevin Gamble miss. First Celtic basket, but 6:45 left in the first, and it's 18-5. Vernon Maxwell had a big night. Drains a 3 right there. Second of the quarter, 28-7 Rockets. Maxwell again, this time blocked by Lewis, though. Robert Parrish up to Reggie for the jumper, and the Rockets lead is cut to 11, 42-31 in the second. But Vernon Maxwell continued to bury them outside. The Rockets go up 47-33. Robert Parrish misses the hook shot, but D. Brown slamming it home. The Rockets only up 66-49 at this time. Kenny Smith, nice look there to Hakeem Olajuwon for the dunk. It's a 17-point Rocket lead in the third. D. Brown would have a good night, 23 points. Rockets lead cut to 9. And then Joe Klein with the outside jump shot cuts the Rockets lead to 7, 98-91. D. Brown again from the top of the key. It's a 5-point game. But Vernon Maxwell, 28 points in all, another 3-pointer. Rick Fox misses the 3. D. Brown up big for the rebound and the layup to make it a 6-point game. But Rick Fox misses another 3 down the stretch, and the Rockets win. Well, first time ever the Celtics have gone winless on their Texas trip. And the loss to Houston dropped them 3.5 games behind New York in the Atlantic Division. That's the furthest The Celtics have been back all year. From Texas, it was on to Showtime in the Los Angeles Lakers for a very special afternoon, marking the retirement of Magic Johnson's number. We'll have highlights of that and of the game when Emily Celtic Weekly continues.
Johnson, the respect you have earned throughout the NBA for your outstanding and unique play was never more evident than during an intense and celebrated rivalry between the Lakers and the Celtics. An honored and esteemed opponent, your very respect elevated that rivalry to new heights. This piece of Boston Garden parquet symbolizes your place in the hearts and mind of Celtic fans everywhere. You will never wear the green and white. You always will be a part of our family. Magic.
Welcome back to Emily Celtics Weekly, everyone. The Celtics continued that road trip out in Los Angeles for their annual battle with the Lakers. Now, the Celtics went into the game 4th in the East, the Lakers 5th in the West. Obviously, both teams suffering without their superstars. And with Magic Johnson's number being retired at halftime, it seemed pretty hard to focus on the game. Celtics get out early in this one. Robert Parrish, nice move along the baseline here by A.C. Green. And Boston leads 2-0 in the first quarter. Then Kevin Gamble, who had 16 on the night for the driving layup. Boston up 7, 28-21. D. Brown cutting to the hoop with the left hand. Celtics led by 16 in the second quarter. Kevin McHale looked like Kevin McHale in this game. He had 19. Boston built the lead to 22. Robert Parrish and D. Brown combined for more. The Chief had 21 points. But then the Lakers started to come back. Sedale Treat goes coast to coast, cuts Boston's lead to 14. Tony Smith picks up a loose ball, goes all the way for the layup. Celtic lead is suddenly down to 12. And then Tony Smith came up with the steal from McHale. Great pass, bingo, right there to Terry Teagle. 13-0, Laker run. Celtics lead only 83-78. James Worthy to Teagle for the baseline jumper. Celtic lead down to 3, 89-86. But then D. Brown to Sherman Douglas to Rick Fox for a reverse layup. Gets the Celtics some breathing room, back up at 9. Sam Perkins, a good spin move by Robert Parrish there to cut it back to a 4-point game. And then A.C. Green the steal. Worthy the dunk. It's 104-103 with 3:11 left. But Reggie Lewis hits a baseline jumper, and John Bagley and D. Brown put it away. But the highlight of this game really came at halftime.
We are here for a very special moment in Laker basketball history. You're doing it right. Let's have some fun. Let's hear it.
He's not done yet, because we're going to go to Barcelona and bring back the gold for everyone here in the United States.
Thanks, Larry. This is that very moment we've been waiting for. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, and Elgin Baylor. Baylor had more hang time than in Dodge City. Boy, could he stay up there? Now, pull it down, the drape around Magic's jersey, and here it is for all to see for the first time. No harm, no foul.
I'd like to also thank Larry Bird and the Boston Celtics for Larry making a special trip out here. I think that it's sort of too bad that Larry and I couldn't go on forever. I enjoyed so many of those battles, whether we won or lost, because of the fact that you got a chance to play at your highest level when you played the Celtics and Larry. And that's what it's all about. So I thank Larry Bird personally for bringing the best out of Magic Johnson. Because without you, I couldn't rise to the top, and I really appreciate that. That's man to man.
Larry Bird had to take a special flight out to Los Angeles where he could lie down and rest his back the entire way. Still, he claims that March 1st will mark his return to play. The real experts on the Celtics' state of health are physician Dr. Arnold Scheller and trainer Ed Lacerte, and we'll take a closer look at these two men and the importance of their jobs when Emily Celtic Weekly continues. to Emily Celtics Weekly, everyone. Maybe the biggest story surrounding this year's Celtic team has been injuries, and the men in charge of repairing and rehabilitating those injuries are team physician Dr. Arnold Scheller and Celtics trainer Ed Lessard. Now, for 4.5 years, they have worked hard to preserve and protect the health of the Boston Celtics, and this year, they've had to communicate more than ever.
Every day, you might not necessarily see the athlete, when they first get hurt or on a daily basis, so I have to communicate to him some of my findings. And so we've developed a good relationship because we both started here new. We didn't know each other. And you have to build a rapport, you have to build, a comfort level between you, and he has to understand what I can do and what I can't do. And I have to try to explain to him necessarily what the athlete's attitude is to the injury, how they react to it, and how they also respond to our rehab. And everybody responds differently. When a player has an injury and he needs surgery, the return of that player to athletics is probably 60% surgery, 40% rehabilitation. And that's the art of sports medicine. A lot of doctors and probably patients feel that all you got to do is have the operation, you're going to get better. But unless you have a motivated therapist like Ed, my surgery is not going to work as well. And if I don't do good surgery, his rehab is not going to work as well. So it's a real medical team, and we approach it that way.
In addition to his specialty, orthopedic medicine, Arnie Scheller has studied extensively in the field of biomedical engineering, a background that helps in analyzing injuries.
It gives you a mechanical orientation, but what you're really doing is applying the principles of engineering science to medicine. And you're taking medicine and making a very analytical process. And it clears your mind. Your thinking is a lot clearer. You don't get caught up in a lot of the emotion in the decisions.
Ed Lessard also brings a strong background to his work with the Celtics. He was hired at the age of 26, but his youth belies the fact that he is well prepared for his roles with the team.
Being an athletic trainer, you have to be in a way multifaceted. And what I'm able to bring to the position, being a physical therapist and a certified strength and conditioning coach, so I can outline some different programs for him and not only just deal with the immediate injury, but try to also preseason conditioning, try to prevent some injuries, and then rehab them once you get through the acute management.
Probably the biggest challenge facing Boston's medical team is protecting the big three, Bird, Parrish, and McHale. Robert Parrish, for example, sees Lessard year-round to help strengthen chronic trouble spots. But time, particularly in the NBA, takes its toll.
The frustrating part is just getting worn down with the attritional injuries and trying to deal with people that are getting older. It's harder. I mean, we all face that. It's harder to get over an injury as you get older. Our big three are special in that they do pay special attention to what their body can do. It would have been nice if they had paid attention to it earlier in their career so they didn't have some of these chronic problems. But yeah, Robert spent some time up in the clinic with me during the summer a few years ago, and he's been spending every summer since then, so that you know that these problems are going to crop up during the season. But if we can start with a lower baseline, so it doesn't, when it does get aggravated, it's not as severe, and we can manage it a little bit easier and a little bit better. Oh, I'd love to be blessed with young athletes, but I still really enjoy working with the players I have here. They're a group of players that are committed to basketball. They're also committed, when they get an injury, they're committed to getting better, and it makes it real easy for Ed and I to work with them.
Keeping the players on the floor is not the only concern of the medical personnel. Celtics management, the media, and fans are preoccupied with the health of the team, and that makes Dr. Scheller's job a little different from the average physician.
I think there's a lot more media pressure in taking care of the Celtics, but for everyday, the difference in medicine between everyday practice and the Boston Celtics should be the same. You've got to deliver the same degree of care to all people. There's a lot more pressure in results when you're taking care of a professional athlete, and you can internalize that pressure and distribute it among your management. Dave Gavitt's been super at helping me distribute that pressure.
No matter how prepared a player is, injuries are part of life in the NBA, and when they happen, Ed Lessard is usually first on the scene.
Being on the court, that's the advantage of being the athletic trainer, in the sense that you look at the mechanism of the injury. So when you can determine, in your mind maybe what structures the damage from the way they fell, the way they got hit. So you're kind of assessing the problem even before you get out there. When you get out there, you're trying to, most of the time they're either rolling around, they're not talking to you. Try to calm them down, do a quick evaluation to make sure that you can move the athlete, and then you really do your thorough evaluation in the back. But when I first get out there, I'm just trying to calm them down, assess what the problem is, what do they feel, hear, give you clues on what to look for.
This summer, Ed Lacerte will serve as the trainer for the U.S. basketball team at the Olympic Games. And if Magic Johnson does play, it will put Ed on the front lines of the HIV controversy.
I personally don't have a problem as a health professional dealing with it. I can understand some of the apprehension of some of the other players, but all they have to do is really become educated on, one, how it's transmitted, how it's not transmitted. I think some of those fears would be allayed. But I can appreciate what they're saying. But I personally haven't dealt with him. We just take the necessary precautions, knowing that he is HIV positive. But I wish him well, and I hope that he's healthy enough to be on the team.
While Ed Lacerte is in Barcelona, Dr. Scheller will be in Boston, probably trying to explain to his patients why they don't heal as quickly as the Celtics do.
I think they get an unrealistic expectation with their return to sports after an injury. They look at professional level athletes having surgery and returning, like Larry coming back 3 months after back surgery and playing fairly well. And they're not going to come back that quickly. First of all, they're not in the same type of condition that these athletes are, and they're not going to get the same intensive physical therapy that Ed Lacerte's going to give them on an everyday basis. So I think the public misunderstands how quickly they can recover.
Well, Ed Lacerte's involvement with the Olympics is certainly going to put his name into the sports history books. And speaking of sports history, what do you get when you cross a museum and a mall? The answer is a lot of fun. And we're going to show you why next on Emily Celtics Weekly. Emily Celtics Weekly, everyone. The New England Sports Museum has been around for years, but the problem has always been not that many people knew about it. Now in its new location, a lot more folks are getting the opportunity to get to know the museum well. A few weeks ago, at its grand opening, many local sports celebrities were on hand to join the celebration.
The New England Sports Museum, with the help of the New England Development Corporation, is moving from its current home on Soldiers Field Road in Boston to its new home at the Cambridgeside Galleria in Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Well, it was really Dave Cowens and Steve Karp, the owner of the mall, met on an airplane about close to 2 years ago, and they started to talk about the museum. We had, at that point, lost the space at the Custom House, and we were looking for a home. Steve had the home for us.
The Sports Museum and the New England Development representatives all agree that the Galleria and the museum are a perfect match.
We market our shopping centers as a community center, and we feel people want to come out shopping for a lot of different reasons. And this just pulls in the whole family experience of shopping in a shopping center. People can come, visit the sports museum, do a little shopping, sit in the food court, have lunch, and enjoy themselves all day.
We really think it's a real win-win. It's a win for the museum because we'll give them a natural audience, a win for the mall because they'll bring new traffic to the mall.
It's important to be in a mall that's easy for people to get to. You're in an urban setting with a heavy population, right around you. It has accessibility to the T. It's right on the Charles River, so it's picturesque. And it's in the corner of the mall. We're an anchor store now across from the most popular place, which is the food court.
The location of the Galleria is looked at as a big advantage for the Sports Museum.
And we're so centrally located. We're down the street from the Boston Gardens. We're right next to the Science Museum. Boston's a great city for tourism. We expect a tremendous amount of tourists to stop by to the mall, go next door to the Science Museum, taking a few sports events out at the Boston Garden or Fenway Park. So we're very excited about having the Sports Museum here.
It's in a location which is right in Cambridge, close to Boston, close to the Science Museum. Everyone knows how to get here. Close to the garden, so the sports fans are certainly going to know how to get here, and we're just really happy to be here. Again, the idea for us has been to move the museum to where the audience is.
A preview gallery was opened to showcase some of the museum's artifacts and memorabilia, such as Robert Parrige's jersey. However, this is not the whole museum. The rest will open this summer.
We're going to have about 17,000 square feet. This is only 3,000, but if you go back into the back room, you'll see another 14,000 square feet that we're going to expand to. Hopefully we'll open early this summer.
Many noteworthy personalities were on hand for this grand preview, and they hope that other kinds of museums would open in malls.
I think it's great because a lot of people don't, unfortunately, a lot of people don't go to museums, the Fine Arts Museum or the Science Museum as much as you should, and it gets sort of bringing museums to the people. I think it's a good idea. I think they should have art museums in malls, too.
It's not that far from the Freedom Trail, and I think it's a wonderful way to preserve all the great memories and all the great athletes and performers, both amateur and pro, we've had in this area. And I think with the food court and with the stores, it's almost a very natural idea to come see what we have, and I think it's going to be the forerunner throughout the country.
To promote the opening of the museum's preview show, the Galleria held a Super Sports Weekend and had members of the Patriots and Celtics on hand to sign autographs. Irving Fryer of the Patriots held a football throwing contest. As members of the sports community, the players think the museum is great for the community and a worthy cause.
Well, I think this is very impressive here. You know, I'm glad to see the people come out and support it. And so it was a good turnout. I think it's for a worthy cause also.
Oh, it's a great turnout, and I'm sure Dave Cowens is very appreciative of all the fans. And, you know, it's something that, to keep the memories alive for the people who didn't have the chance to see all those great stars play.
A major attraction during the weekend was a three-point shooting contest among local contest winners. The ultimate prize was a chance to shoot against Celtic rookie Rick Fox, who had this advice.
If he can make one, he might beat me. So all you got to do is think one.
The weekend was a major success in enlightening the public to the many benefits the museum has to offer.
The New England area is a great area for sports. You know, the people, when you're winning and you're doing well, you know, they support you 100%. And I think that is something that is needed here. It's something that has been, the people have been wanting for a long time. And I think it will last for a long time because, you know, we have great athletes here in New England with the Bruins, with the Celtics, with the Red Sox, and the Patriots. We have a lot of great talent here, and I think the people appreciate that. And I think with a sports museum, it will be that much more appreciated.
Everything you see on exhibit here has been either loaned or contributed by the fans of this area, so it's really for them.
The public really enjoyed the exhibitions and got a chance to relive their past sports memories.
I think it's great. Just to see the number of people here today, it's absolutely mind-boggling for me. I think it's a wonderful idea.
Yeah, I can't believe the statues, really, the quality that artist did. You know, even in the socks. I thought that was his uniform that was on him, but it's really all carving, and then it's all painted. It's unbelievable. If people don't come down here just to see the statues and the paintings that this man did, they're missing a great deal in New England.
As for the players on hand, the prospects of having their image carved into wood like Larry Bird, Bobby Orr, and Carl Yastrzemski brought some interesting responses.
I'm trying them. Yeah, I think that way, I think. And 2 more championships wouldn't hurt.
I hope so. I don't know, but I hope so.
I hope so. That's quite a ways, but I hope so one day.
I doubt it. But one never knows.
A great take, the New England Sports Museum. If you're in the city, come on by. That'll do it for this week's Amalie Celtics Weekly. Hope you enjoyed the last half hour. See you next week, everybody.